Last train home. Rain slid slowly across the station windows as the final train disappeared into the Tokyo night. Aiko stopped near platform 2, breathing hard from running down the station stairs moments too late. Her shoes were wet from the rain outside, and strands of dark hair clung to her cheeks as she watched the empty tracks in disbelief. 12:47 a.m. Gone. Perfect. A soft announcement echoed through the nearly silent station. The final train has departed. Aiko let out a tired laugh beneath her breath. Her manager had kept her late again at the cafe near Shibuya. Then came the rain. Then crowded streets filled with umbrellas and impatient people. By the time she reached the station, the doors had already closed. She adjusted the paper bag in her arms and turned toward the exit. Then noticed him. A boy in a black coat stood beneath the flickering station light near the vending machines. One hand rested in his pocket, while the other held an unopened can of coffee. Unlike her, he didn't look annoyed about missing the train. He looked like he had let it leave on purpose. Rain tapped softly against the windows behind him while the station lights buzzed overhead. After a moment, the boy glanced toward her. "You missed it too?" His voice was calm, quiet. Aiko nodded once. "Barely." He looked down at the coffee can in his hand. "I could have made it." She frowned slightly. "Then why didn't you?" For a few seconds he said nothing. Only the rain answered. Finally, he spoke. "I didn't really want to go home yet." Something about the honesty in his voice made the empty station suddenly feel smaller, more human. Aiko stepped a little closer without realizing it. "You hate your apartment that much?" A faint smile crossed his face. "I don't hate it." He looked toward the rain-covered city outside the station windows. "It's just too quiet lately." The station closed 20 minutes later. Employees moved through the platforms while dim lights shut off one by one, leaving only the glow of vending machines behind. Outside, Tokyo shimmered beneath the rain. Neon signs reflected across puddles like watercolor paintings melting into the street. Aiko pulled her coat tighter around herself as cold wind rushed between the buildings. "So what now?" she asked. The boy glanced up at the cloudy sky. "There's a diner nearby." "You go there often?" "More than I should." "That sounds depressing." "It probably is." A quiet laugh escaped her before she could stop it. For the first time that night, he smiled properly. Small, careful, but real. The diner was nearly empty. Warm yellow lights reflected against fogged windows, while an old jazz song played softly somewhere in the background. Aiko wrapped both hands around a cup of hot chocolate, while the boy stirred coffee he barely touched. "Haru," he said after a while. She looked up. "My name." "Aiko." Rain slid slowly down the windows beside them. For some reason, saying their names changed the atmosphere between them completely. Like they had stopped being strangers. "So," Aiko said softly, "your apartment is really that bad?" Haru leaned back against the booth. "It's not the apartment." "Then what is it?" He stared quietly into his coffee. "Have you ever gone home and realized nobody would notice whether you came back or not?" The question lingered heavily between them. Aiko lowered her eyes toward her cup. Outside, headlights drifted through the rain like distant ghosts. "My place is the opposite," she admitted quietly. "My younger sister moved in 2 months ago." "That sounds nice." "She talks from the moment she wakes up until she falls asleep." Haru laughed softly. Aiko smiled. "But," she continued, tracing the rim of her cup with her finger, "when she stayed at a friend's house last week, the apartment felt strange." He looked at her. "Too quiet." She nodded once. For a while, neither of them spoke again, but the silence no longer felt uncomfortable. By 3 a.m, the rain had only become heavier. The diner owner eventually approached with an apologetic bow. "We're closing for cleaning." Aiko checked her phone again. Still no taxis. Perfect. Outside, rain hammered against the streets hard enough to blur the city lights. For a moment, both of them simply stood beneath the diner awning, listening to the storm. Then Haru spoke quietly. "My apartment's nearby." Aiko looked toward him carefully. "You don't have to offer just because I'm stranded." "I know." Rainwater dripped from the edge of the awning between them. "You can stay until the trains start again." His voice remained calm and awkward, in a way that felt strangely sincere. She hesitated only briefly before nodding. "Okay." Together they stepped back into the rain-covered streets of Tokyo. Haru's apartment was 15 minutes away. They walked slowly through narrow side streets glowing with neon reflections and convenience store lights. The city felt almost unreal at that hour. Quiet. Endless. Alive. "Wait," Aiko suddenly said. "If your apartment is this close, why were you taking the train?" Haru shoved his hands deeper into his pockets. "It usually saves me 10 minutes. "That's it?" "I was tired." Rainwater shimmered beneath their footsteps. Then he glanced toward the empty road ahead. "But tonight, I think I just wanted more time." Aiko looked at him silently after that. And for some reason, the rain no longer felt cold. His apartment was small. One room, soft lighting. Books stacked beside the television. Half-empty coffee cups near the sink. But it felt warm. Safe somehow. Aiko removed her wet shoes near the entrance while Haru searched awkwardly for spare blankets. "Sorry it's messy." "It's cleaner than I expected." "You expected worse? You look like someone who owns exactly one fork." He stared at her for a second before laughing quietly. The sound filled the apartment more naturally than either of them expected. Rain tapped softly against the balcony window, while Tokyo glowed far below the buildings outside. Aiko sat near the low table, wrapped in one of Haru's blankets. "You really spend nights walking around until the last train leaves?" "Sometimes." "Why?" Haru leaned against the balcony door. For a moment he seemed unsure how honest he wanted to be. Then he looked out toward the sleeping city beyond the rain. "Because going home means thinking too much." The apartment fell silent again. But not empty. Never empty. Aiko watched him quietly before speaking. "I'm glad you missed your train." Haru turned slightly toward her. The city lights reflected softly in his tired eyes. "Me too." Near dawn, the rain finally began to fade. A pale blue morning slowly appeared between the Tokyo buildings, while distant train tracks hummed back to life somewhere beyond the city. Aiko had fallen asleep beside the couch sometime before sunrise. Haru sat near the balcony window watching the first morning trains move through the rain-covered skyline. Quietly, endlessly, like the city itself had started breathing again. Behind him, Aiko stirred slightly beneath the blanket. "Haru?" Her sleepy voice barely rose above the sound of the rain. She opened her eyes slowly and looked toward the pale morning light outside. Then she smiled softly. "Next time." He looked at her. "Let's miss the train on purpose." For the first time in a long while, going home no longer sounded lonely.